StraightallDay.com.
Power of showing up first. Now, if you are a long-time listener, you've heard me say many times, and if this is your first time hearing it, it's okay. Early is on time is late, and late is forgotten. Usually the person who shows up first is the person who is showing up early, not the person who is showing up merely on time. So today, when I say showing up first, in this context, what I mean is making it part of your normal mode of operation and your normal way of living and your normal way of being. So this can be something like showing up first at Walmart because you want to buy the new flat screen TV that they have on sale. It can be about showing up first as a person who initiates change or starts a conversation. And it can also be about showing up first as being the person who moves first when everybody else is uncertain, and then you by default become the leader simply because you chose to move while everybody else was looking around with their hands in their pockets, wondering who's going to take lead here because the damn sure ain't going to be me. So this is what we're going to talk about here in today's masterclass. How you can show up first, and this could be something also as simple as waking up early in the morning and getting things done before everybody else even has gotten out of bed and put their feet on the floor. Let's talk about the power of going first, what it means, what I mean by this in an energetic sense, not necessarily in a literal sense, but of course you can take this literally. I just gave you some literal explanations of what this can mean and what the power of this is. Why would it actually matter to be a person who is moving first? Point number one. When you move first, you are sending a message to others and you are sending a message to yourself. This is one reason why you want to do it. When you go first and you move before everyone else, you automatically are the leader by default. When you move first, you are automatically the leader by default. Why? Because who's a leader? A leader is the person who moves first. That's it. A leader is the person who moves first by definition. When you move first, you become a leader. And most people will move after you and behind you after you move first, even if they don't know that you know what you're doing. They're actually not even really thinking about the fact that they don't know that you don't know what you're doing, because the fact that you move first at least lets them follow behind somebody else. So if you end up being wrong, it's not going to be their fault. It'll be your fault because you're the one who moved first. This is the reason why most people don't move first. It's the reason why most people don't lead and would rather follow, because they don't want the responsibility of being the one who went first, especially if they're not quite sure. See, it's easy to lead when everything is set up to be successful and there's very little chance of you failing. But when there's a chance of failing, you notice there are much fewer people who are willing to step up and take a leadership position. I talked about this when I talked about feminism. When people talk about, well, look at all the women who are stepping up into leadership positions in corporations and bureaucracies in the government these days. And while you can look at them without context, it may seem like that all of a sudden women have become leaders, or all of a sudden just after so many years of women having quote unquote freedom, that now it's clear that women are just as capable of leading as men. And I say that's all bullshit. That's not true. The reason why you're seeing more women in leadership positions these days is because there is very little opportunity to seriously fail as a leader these days, because everything is set up to where the worst thing that could happen is the company may lose some money, but companies have lost money under men. So how exactly could you blame the woman? And the answer is you really couldn't. So yeah, it's easy for a woman to step up and quote unquote lead now, because everything is set up to be so clean and antiseptic that you really aren't facing any risk by stepping up and leading. Now, you show me a woman stepping up and leading in a situation where the consequences for losing and the consequences for failing as a leader are you get your head chopped off, or you literally could lose your life, or you could end up incarcerated for the rest of your life. Show me a woman stepping up and leading in that situation. You can't, because there are very few and far between examples of it. So leader is a person who goes first and initiates, especially in a situation that is uncertain. When there is a high level of uncertainty, you don't see a whole lot of women stepping up to lead where there is a real risk to the person who is leading. There's a real risk with people who are leading was back the founding fathers who started this country and said, we're going to go to war against England because we want our freedom, understanding that had they lost, all of them would have been hanged. All of them would have paid for that with their lives. You see too many women stepping up to lead back then. And these days, most things are safe enough that, again, even if you quote unquote fail, there's no real loss, no real tangible thing that's going to happen to you if you come up short. So what we talk about when we talk about leadership now is a lot different than how it was when things really were. There were real risks to stepping up and leading. So the leader is the person who moves first, and you are whomever is identified as the person who moves first. And the interesting thing about this is, as I just explained, you don't even have to know where you're going. in order to be the leader. Just because you went first, everybody else is going to follow you because most people don't want to lead. They would rather follow and have an excuse of saying, hey, he's the one who told us to go here. Christopher Columbus, for example. If any of you know the story of Columbus, you don't have to know that much about it, but there are some parts that most of us are familiar with. But one part about it, a lot of people don't know, is Christopher Columbus came up at a time that was very aristocratic, meaning at that time, whatever stage you were born into in terms of your familial status, you pretty much stayed there. There was no upward mobility where Christopher Columbus came from. He actually came from Portugal, and he found himself over in Spain. He would mingle with these higher status people. Christopher Columbus was not a high status person. He, in that time, was not supposed to even have been eligible to become who he became. Because when you come from the merchant class, which Christopher Columbus was, it's pretty much like the lower middle class in Portugal or Spain, you did not elevate above that. But somehow he found himself in the court of Prince Isabella, and he asked Princess Isabella for some money for a voyage. She didn't have the money to give to him, but she liked him. She liked his charm, and she kept him around and let him hang around. Later on, when the wars were over that the Spaniards were involved in at the time, this is why she didn't have the money, Columbus came to her and asked for the money again, and this time she said yes. And she gave him the money, and he was actually looking for an alternate route to India, which is why when Columbus landed at the New World, he called the people he saw Indians, because he thought he was in India. And do you know the direction of where India is relative to Spain? Christopher Columbus was going in the exact opposite direction of where he thought he was going. He thought he was in India. He was actually in the United States. Again, look at a map. Christopher Columbus didn't really know where he was going. Now, he didn't know that much about ocean voyage. He was not really good at reading maps. He really was not that great of a sailor at all. He wasn't a sailor anyway. He was the son of a merchant. And usually when you're the son of a merchant, you become a merchant yourself. That's who Christopher Columbus was. But Christopher Columbus's name is known all around the world because he, quote unquote, discovered this new world. He at least discovered it for the people over in Spain, who then sent a whole bunch of other people over to basically conquer and settle the land that became the United States of America and most of the Western world over here, at least across the Atlantic Ocean. The whole point is Christopher Columbus was a leader because he was willing to go first, and he was willing to stick his neck out and take the risk of being a person who to go and try and find a new route that the world didn't know about at the time. And he did find a new route, but it wasn't the route he was trying to find. And he did find a new place, and it wasn't, well, he found a new place. It wasn't he thought he was going to find a place we knew about. He found a place we didn't know about. All of this because he was willing to lead, not because he was some expert. Christopher Columbus was not an expert. If he was an expert at anything, he was an expert at selling. He was a great salesperson. He didn't make the ultimate sale, which is getting America named after him. He failed on that sale, but he did make the sale of having the voyage happen in the first place. There were many times along that voyage that the men on his boat were thinking about killing Columbus because they were unsure that Columbus actually knew what he was doing or where he was going. So a lot of times his own men were doubting Columbus. Like, does this guy actually know what he's doing? Maybe we should just kill this guy, and then we won't be stuck in this situation that we're in. But some smart men who were on the boat said, well, hey, if we kill this guy, all right, what the hell are we going to do how the hell are we going to get home? He's the only one who thinks we're going to land somewhere and find land. If we kill him, then all of us will be dead and ain't nobody going home. So we might as well let this mofo live and see if he actually ends up being right. That's the only reason Christopher Columbus survived. All right. And that's part of the story of Christopher Columbus. For those of you who don't know, the whole point being he was willing to lead. He was willing to go first, and he didn't know what he was doing. When you move first, you position yourself as the leader because you are willing to move even when you're just as unsure as everybody else. Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is the power of showing up first. Number 2, waiting makes you reactive and showing up gives you power. So which one do you want to do? Do you want to be a reactive person who is reacting to something that everything or everyone else did? Or do you want to take the power by being a person who moves first, shows up first, and takes action and gets everybody else to react to you? Which one would you rather do? Would you rather have everyone responding to you or you responding to everyone else? Generally, I think most of you will probably pick the first one. You'd rather be the one that has everyone else reacting to what you did. So you are basically setting the tone and you are dictating the pace of how things go. If any of you ever watch a combat sport fighting, one of the things you'll often hear announcers talking about is who is controlling the pace of the fight. And the person who controls the pace of the fight is usually the one that gets the fight to go the way that they want it to go. So if you have two boxers fighting and one of them is a traditional boxer and the other one is more of a brawler, The brawler is going to try to impose his will and try to muck up the fight and make it, a slugfest between the two fighters, whereas the boxer is going to try to maintain the distance, bob and weave, move around, and make it more of a technical match. And whoever succeeds in getting things to go the way that they want it to go, to get the tempo that they want the fight to have, usually they have more control over it, and usually they can end up winning the fight simply because they have the other fighter fighting a style that they're not comfortable with. And it's the same thing when you move first. When you move first, you get everybody responding to things that you have initiated. When they move first, you're responding to things that they initiated. So which one would you rather be? When you are waiting, you cannot move or do what you want to do until somebody else does what they want, to do. And then you end up basically responding to the energy that they're putting out. You don't want to put yourself in that position. This puts you in a following or subordinate position that you don't want to be in. People who go first take control of the moment before anything else has even happened. That's the position you actually want to be in. And they are the thing that is happening, because you're causing everything else to occur by the reality of you moving first. You don't want to be in a waiting situation for another reason, because something or someone else may be causing the delay or controlling the use of your most valuable resource, which is your time. When you're waiting, you can't do something until somebody or something else does something. Okay, so your time is being controlled by something that's not you. You don't want to be in that situation. You don't ever want to be in a situation to where your time is being controlled or dictated by something or someone that is not yourself. It's one of the big reasons that a lot of employees quit their jobs and become entrepreneurs, because they don't like their time situation being dictated to them by the job or by a boss. They say I can do this exact same job and at least make the same amount of money or even more money if I take control of my time, rather than having someone else tell me how my time goes. And the older people get, usually the more this becomes an urgent reality for them and an urgent need for them to take control of their time. So you won't be in this situation with your time being controlled by something that's not you. When you are waiting, you are in a holding pattern of sorts that you cannot get out of until some other thing that you are not in control of happens or decides to move or take some action. When you go first, on the other hand, everyone else is waiting on you, or they are forced into action by you. This is the leadership position. And understand that when you take this initiative, that initiative is yours. You are the leader. Everyone's following you. And again, the trade-offs of leadership is that you also have the responsibility and the accountability that come with it. Let's not forget about that. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is the power of showing up first. Number 3, showing up first is and becomes an identity in and of itself. Showing up first is an identity. I am a person who most people will call an early riser. I wake up used to be 3:45. I've since adjusted it to about 3:30 a.m. And that is an identity. That's not something that I do. It's something that I am. Meaning, I like to show up to places first. I like to be the first one to move. I'm the type of person to initiate conversations. I'm the type to see someone I want to talk to. I approach them. I don't wait for them to approach me. When you have the identity of showing up first, there are certain things that you do because of who you are. And there are certain preparations that you take in order to make sure you're living up to the identity you have set for yourself. So when I tell you I'm an early riser, I'm not telling you that because I want you to be impressed with what time I wake up in the morning, and nor am I telling you to do it. I'm saying being that person who wakes up early, there's a whole lot of other things that I do early. I tell you all, I often get asked by people who listen to the show, they say, Dre, do you record a new episode of the show every day? Most of you should know the answer to this by now. The answer is no, I do not. I actually batch record episodes of this show. So I may take one day and record 6, 7, 8, 10 episodes of this show. If you are watching the show on video and you watch several episodes back to back, you may notice that I'm wearing the same outfit in the last episode that I'm wearing in this episode, and I'll be wearing the same one in the next episode because I'm recording them back to back to back. They may not come out on the same day, but I'm recording them all on the same day. So I want to be several episodes ahead. As of today, the actual day that I'm recording this, I am about 60 episodes ahead of the calendar, which means this episode that I'm recording right now is not coming out for another 2 months. And I'm saying that this is part of my identity. I do things early, get things ready ahead of time. Every week, I lay out all the clothes I'm going to need for the gym that upcoming week. So I know on Monday, I'm going to be doing this. I need these clothes. On Tuesday, I'll be doing this. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I lay the whole week out before the week even begins. Even my suits, I have them laid out. Okay, I'm going to wear this suit. I'm going to wear this shirt, this tie, these socks. I have this laid out, this belt, these shoes. I have it laid out before the week even begins so that all of these things are taken care of. I like to batch my activities. So, okay, these are things I want to post on social media. Let me schedule the whole week of social media or the whole next 2 months of social media material before the next 2 months even occur. These are all forms of going first. Showing up first, again, I'm saying this as an identity. This is not an action. The actions follow the identity. It's not you get the actions, then you get the identity. No, you get the identity, then you do the actions. Then you ask yourself, based on this identity, if you're not sure, based on this identity, what actions would I take? If I want to take these actions, what kind of identity do I need to have first? If I want to do these things, who do I need to be? You notice that? Are you catching it? I wrote a whole book about this concept. It's called The Mirror of Motivation. You can get it at mirrorofmotivation.com. When you have the identity of showing up first, there are certain things you do because of that identity. Other people start looking to you for cues because you have the reputation of being first. You become the anchor that everyone else is connected to, and people tend to follow your lead by default because you are the one in the front. When you're in front, people follow you. This is simply how it works. People can't follow you if you're in the back. So you take on all the risk of stepping forward first. You take on the responsibility and the accountability of being the person who steps forward first, while everybody else is too nervous and afraid to do that themselves. This is why being a leader is not necessarily about having a certain skill. Being a leader is really about having the courage to step forward even when everybody else is unsure, even when you're unsure. Again, Christopher Columbus is a good example. What was he sure of? Not much. He didn't have that much skill. He didn't know that much. He just had courage. That's all. And because he had that courage, everybody followed him. Even people who were smarter than him followed him because he had the courage. Keep in mind that most people, as a general rule, want to be led. They want to be told what to do. They do not want to be leaders themselves. So accommodate them by leading them and telling them what to do. People will follow when you tell them what to do, because if you lead them to their own devices to figure it out on their own, most people will do pretty much nothing. So you just tell people what to do, they'll do it, because otherwise nothing else will be happening. So they might as well listen to you. Let's recap today's class, which is the power of showing up first. And again, when I say this in context, I'm talking about making this part of your normal mode of operation, your normal way of living, your normal way of being. Number one, when you show up first, you are sending a message to others and you're sending a message to yourself. All right, when you show up before everybody else, you automatically become the leader by default. When you do things in your life before life forces you to do them, you are taking the lead in your own life. This is what we call taking initiative. You hear me talk about personal initiative, being a go-getter and making things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. Where does that come from? That comes from you noticing that something needs to be addressed and addressing it before life forces you to address it. All right, that's what leading is about. Number two, waiting makes you reactive, whereas showing up gives you power. Showing up, meaning moving first, gives you power. When you show up and start to act on things, you have the power, you have the initiative. But when you're waiting for something else to happen first, you don't have the initiative. You lose and you give away the initiative to that other thing. Number three, showing up first is an identity. And because of that identity, you take certain actions that can be noticed by you and or by others that are a reflection of that identity. Going first, starting a conversation, initiating an engagement, preparing yourself ahead of time. These are all forms of going first. And usually when you see one, it's kind of like ants. If you see an ant in your house, there's probably a bunch of other ants too that you don't see yet. You're going to see them in a minute. It's the same thing when it comes to going first. People who do things early and do things first and take initiative in one area, they probably do the same thing in a bunch of other areas. Why? Because human beings are creatures of habit. You notice one habit, that same habit is probably reflected in other aspects of their lives that you don't know about. Just pay attention and you'll start to notice them. All that said, folks, when it comes to taking initiative, you want to become more of an initiative taker. You want to be one of those people who is not just talking about doing it, but actually doing it. And you want to take that determination and that discipline and you want to turn it into dominance. Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. Get in at whatever level makes the most sense for you. Get started with me as your direct coach and let's go to work. That's all at workonyourgameuniversity.com. Work on your game. Dre all